Hi, I'm Dave from BMC. Today I'm going to show you how to distribute content using a BladeLogic Server Automation feature called a BLPackage. By content, I mean assets such as applications, hotfixes, or configuration files. A BLPackage bundles configuration changes so they can be deployed to managed servers. Using a BLPackage, you can make additions, deletions, and modifications to multiple servers simultaneously. BLPackages can become reusable building blocks for establishing server infrastructure. For example, after you develop a solid BLPackage for Apache, you can reuse it to deploy Apache to your development and production environments. With this approach, you can feel confident that Apache will be configured correctly on every server and managed in a way that's consistent with your best practices. So, let's learn about BLPackages.
Using the BladeLogic console, expand the Depot folder. The Depot is the central location for all content such as files, BLPackages, patches, and other objects you typically manage. You can create a folder structure in the Depot to organize content. Navigate to a subfolder where you want to store a BLPackage. Right-click the subfolder and select New BLPackage. A wizard opens. For package name, enter a name. You can create very complex BLPackages, but for this demonstration we're going to keep it simple and deploy a single configuration file, the host file. It's used to map host names to IP addresses. You can later deploy this BLPackage and the host file it contains to other managed servers that run Windows. Now click Next. On this panel, you can add the files and other assets you want to bundle into a package. In BladeLogic, a file does not have to reside on your local computer in order to include it in a package. If a file exists on any server with an agent installed, you can pull it in from that remote machine. To do so, click Add. This dialog shows a list of all managed servers, that is, servers with agents installed and registered with the BladeLogic application server. Navigate to a server that contains the configuration file you want to deploy. Expand that server. Expand File System and navigate to the host file. Here it is in the drivers/etc directory. Select the host file and move your selection to the list at right. Click OK. Click Finish. And a BLPackage is added to the Depot in the subfolder you selected originally. Select the BLPackage you just created, right-click, and select Open. Here are the contents of the BLPackage. Select this one entry under BLPackage, and at right you see the attributes for that entry. For the path attribute, select Windows, then select this icon, the Select Property icon. A list of variables opens. Scroll down and click this arrow to the right of Target. Now you see a list of variables that can be applied to target servers when you are deploying changes. Select WinDear. Notice how this variable replaces what you selected earlier. When the host file is deployed to other managed servers, BladeLogic will replace the variable with the name of the appropriate directory depending on which version of Windows is running on the target server. On this tab, click the X. BladeLogic prompts you to save your changes to the BLPackage. Congratulations, you have now created a new BLPackage. You've pulled in a file from a remote machine to include in the BLPackage, and you've now been introduced to the idea of adding a parameter to a variable so you can deploy a file to different versions of Windows servers. You are now ready to learn more about BladeLogic's automation capabilities.